station. It's time now for your expanded local news. The Pana Police Department experienced an uptick in calls and some notable cases in these last few months, all while being down an officer. March was a particularly busy month for the force, with April not far behind. Now, with summer nearly here, Pana Police Department Chief Daniel Bland doesn't see the warmer months slowing down either. Bland looks back on the department's previous months as well as their efforts.
Been busy on our end, a lot of activities. Definitely been busy with calls for service. The month of March was really busy. April, not as bad as March. May has improved, but yet naturally every day we've dealt with just situations that are expected of us as far as solving crime, and had some break-ins, some meth arrests, domestics. We've had several things going on out the school as far as just issues to deal with there. We had a major bullying incident and investigation involving several students, which drew a lot of resources in. We've had some compliance checks, liquor and tobacco. We've been super busy. We had an officer injured during the end of March, I believe, 1st of April area. We're taking a subject into custody, so he's been off, which has reduced staff, which increases pressure and responsibility. So we've been really busy.
Officers conducted compliance checks on local liquor and tobacco licensed stores, and the results were not what they had hoped for. Bland states that 8 total establishments failed the inspections.
Yeah, we did. We worked with the Illinois Liquor Commissioner back in March and did a liquor compliance check. It'd been a couple of years actually with just resources and scheduling and trying to get things done like that, but we were able to put together that compliance check, and there's 12 establishments we checked, and actually we had 7 in violation, which was disappointing to us, as far as that number goes. But yet, accountability, fines, education, the businesses naturally stand on top of training and requirements for those who are selling alcohol and verifying they're not selling to minors. It was a disappointing number, but yet obviously the more frequent we do that, the better the numbers are, and so, with that in turn, we turned around and did a tobacco compliance check here just a couple of weeks ago, and checked 13 establishments, in which we had only 1 violator of 13 establishments, which is a much better turnaround response. They were held accountable.
Bland shares about 2 cases that stand out to him since the beginning of March.
During the month of March, our task force was able to intercept some, an individual delivering meth through the Postal Service. Pretty large quantity, which can affect an entire, especially our town, but entire region as far as just, trafficking methamphetamine that way. Naturally working with the U.S. Postal Inspection Service and our task force. And, that plays with a small community and the amount of controlled substance coming in like that. It doesn't take much to turn our community upside down for a weekend or a week when it starts being distributed out. So that was a major case. We just have to get a result on. Naturally, it's with the methamphetamine effects in our area, it affects all calls for service. So we're always targeting things like that. The task force is, let alone just the day-to-day possessions, warrant arrests, things of that nature, because they all, unfortunately, talked about it. It intertwines itself. And
the Pana Police Department is looking for a fun yet safe summer full of events. Bland gives some basic tips on general safety.
Well, we're like every agency, you try to prepare for what's anticipated and yet also the unexpected. But naturally, with the summer months, calls for service activity always picks up. Let alone not with just calls for service for us, but just good activities for the community, events at the parks. There's downtown events, disc golf events, golf. I mean, there's always something, and that's a good thing for the community, but it puts on an additional responsibility from our agency to prepare for that. And so it's good that, reach out to the public and remind them of, things that they can do to help us with crime prevention and education. And, because naturally, as we discussed earlier, with just people out later, it's good to report suspicious activity, keep your doors on your vehicles locked, keep, valuables out of sight. There's always something and that's something can be done to prevent something like that, but it's good to have reminders like that with the events coming on.
Find out more by visiting cityofpana.org. You can also visit them at their Facebook page. Daniel Bland appeared as a guest on the WTIM Pana Morning Show. The Chautauqua Auditorium in Forest Park in Shelbyville hosted Chet Kingery Memorial Bluegrass Festival this past Friday night and Saturday for the second consecutive year. A host of top bluegrass bands performed, hosted by the band Macville. Here's a little of Macville's music that was heard over this past weekend. WMKR Genuine Country 94.3 broadcast live interviews with members of several different bands from the event's green room on Saturday morning. Organizer Larry Slaybaugh said the efforts to bring the Bluegrass Festival to Shelbyville began back in 2022. Ron Kingery, the son of the late Chet Kingery, that the festival is held in honor of each year, told WMKR listeners it was a great way to remember his father each and every year. Little Roy Lewis and his cousin Lizzie Long, both from Lincolnton, Georgia, were among the headliners Saturday at the Bluegrass Festival. Little Roy is a legend in bluegrass and gospel music. The second year of the festival in Shelbyville this past weekend brought larger crowds than last year, along with some great weather. The Taylorville Kiwanis Club this week awarded two $1,000 scholarships to two Taylorville high school seniors at the school's recent scholarship night. The pair were selected by a committee of Kiwanis members from several entries that were received. Awarded $1,000 Kiwanis scholarships were THS seniors Olivia Kent and Sophie Robinson. Kent was presented her scholarship by Kiwanis past president Chuck Martin. Robinson was ill and unfortunately was unable to attend. The Taylorville Kiwanis Club is part of a global organization of volunteers dedicated to improving the world just one child and one community at a time. Weekly meetings are held Tuesdays at noon at the Taylorville Moose Lodge. For information on the club, go to TaylorvilleKiwanis.com. This will conclude the first portion of your expanded local news, which is brought to you by Taylorville Community Credit Union.
Hi, this is Will Perkins with Taylorville Community Credit Union. When you become a member of TCCU, you become an owner and have access to our great loan rates, earn great dividends on our deposit accounts, have access to our full range of financial products, and will receive personal attention from people you know. Membership is open to anyone who lives or works in Christian, Montgomery, and Shelby County. We are conveniently located in Taylorville, Hillsboro, Litchfield, and Pana. You can also visit us online at www.tccu.org. Come join us. You'll wonder why you waited. Member NCUA.
People First Bankshares Incorporated recently held its annual meeting at People's Bank and Trust in Pana, where the organization has reviewed the past year's performance and recognized changes in its leadership team. The board of directors honored Director Emeritus Michael Trexler for his 31 years of service upon retirement. The board also welcomed Robert Swartz, who joined the company's board of directors in the previous year. Additionally, the organization acknowledged the retirements of Sherry Hunter, Carol Schneider, and Sue Palliser for their contributions. In 2024, the company reported substantial financial growth, including a $34 million increase in gross loan volume, bringing the total to $413 million. Deposit volume rose $57 million to reach $480 million, and net income climbed by $770,000, totaling slightly more than $8.2 million. A key factor in this growth was the merger with First Arcola Bank, or Arcola First Bank, which added 3 new branches in Arthur, Arcola, and Tuscola, as well as a new customer base. In line with its mission to support local communities, the company contributed more than $150,000 to community organizations and logged over 4,000 volunteer hours by employees and their directors. The merger also expanded the company's workforce with 17 new employees from Arcola First Bank. Additionally, People's Bank and Trust recruited 5 bank officers from outside the organization and promoted 13 existing team members to new roles, continuing its focus on team leadership and team development. The Illinois Senate will soon vote on a bill regarding driver's licenses and their renewals for senior citizens. House Bill 1226 would increase age requirements for in-person license renewals and driving tests. Currently, drivers 75 and older must complete driver license renewals in person. Drivers 79 and older must also take and pass a driving test, much like drivers looking to obtain a license for their first time as part of their renewals. The bill would raise the age thresholds to 79 and 87, respectively. The bill cites a study by the Secretary of State, which State Senator Ram Villavalam called for in 2022, which found that seniors in Illinois are among the safest of drivers. It also showed that raising the age requirements, as previously mentioned, would reduce wait times at Secretary of State facilities. Villavalam says that these findings, along with similar regulations in other states, demonstrate the need for these changes in Illinois. The bill passed the Senate Transportation Committee on Tuesday and heads to the Senate floor. Details on the bill can be found at ilga.gov. This will conclude your second portion of your expanded local news, which is brought to you by CNB Bank and Trust.
Agriculture drives our community, and at CNB Bank and Trust, we're here to help your operation run smoothly. Our business checking accounts are designed with local farmers and agribusinesses in mind, offering flexible options, digital tools, and personalized support from people who know the land like you do. Visit our Taylorville branch and let's build something strong together. CNB Bank and Trust, helping to open doors since 1854. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Moving now to obituaries, which can be found at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com and are brought to you by Sutton Memorial Home.
When it comes to organizing your life, Sutton Memorial Home in Taylorville has some words of advice. Consider pre-planning your funeral. The death of a loved one can be a traumatic event in people's lives, and you can spare your family the burden of planning a funeral when they are grieving. Sutton Memorial Home knows that establishing a pre-arrangement assures that important decisions and your personal selection are made in advance and spares your family an additional burden at their time of loss. Sutton Memorial Home in Taylorville. Caring is what they do best.
18-year-old Alex E. Kidd of Taylorville died on May 5th. Visitation is May 14th from 3 until 5 p.m. at McClure Funeral Home in Taylorville. Funeral service will be May 14th at 5 p.m. at McClure Funeral Home in Taylorville. Funeral arrangements are being handled by McClure Funeral Home and Cremation Services in Taylorville. "60-year-old Janice K. Kettlecamp of Taylorville died on May 5th. Funeral service will be May 17th at 11 a.m. at First United Methodist Church in Taylorville. Funeral arrangements are being handled by McClure Funeral Home and Cremation Services in Taylorville. "75-year-old John Frank Sullivan of Huntington Beach, California, formerly of Nokomis, died on April 24th. Visitation is May 17th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Perfetti and Asali Funeral Home in Morrisonville. Funeral service will be May 17th at 1 p.m. at Perfetti Asali Funeral Home in Morrisonville. Interment with military honors will be at Morrisonville Cemetery. Funeral arrangements are being handled by Perfetti and Asali Funeral Home in Morrisonville. Get details on these and other local news stories at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com or on WTIM, your only local news radio.
This is Blaine Cornwell with Prairie State Insurance.